Kayla Brooks adjusted her wide-brimmed straw hat and glanced over her shoulder. The sun over Palm Beach was ruthless that afternoon, high and hot, glittering off the endless turquoise of the Whitman Estate pool. A breeze rippled through the palms, but even that felt warm, the kind of heat that made rich people flee to their summer homes in Switzerland. Not Chase Whitman, though. The man never left. Max, his 6-year-old son, sat at the shallow edge of the pool, his little toes skimming the water, a neon-orange water blaster forgotten beside him. "Careful," Kayla said softly as she stepped closer, kneeling beside him. "Stay where your feet can touch." Max didn't answer. He rarely did. The boy had eyes too old for his age. Quiet, thoughtful, bruised by something no child should have to carry. Since the death of his mother a year ago, he'd barely spoken above a whisper. His silence haunted the Whitman estate like a ghost. Kayla wasn't sure what she was to him. Not quite a mother, not quite a stranger. Somewhere in between. She offered him a slice of watermelon, which he accepted without looking at her, his tiny fingers brushing hers. That was something. Progress. "You want to tell me what your shark's name is today?" she asked gently. Max blinked at the toy in his lap, then mumbled, "Torpedo." Kayla smiled. "That's a strong name. I like it." "Mom said sharks don't have to talk to be strong," he added, almost inaudibly. Kayla's heart pulled tight in her chest. She didn't answer. Instead, she adjusted the towel beneath him and sat by his side, letting the silence be enough. Upstairs in the house, behind the tinted glass walls of his home office, Chase Whitman barely glanced at the scene below. From his perch on the second floor, he could see everything: the staff tending to the lawn, the pool glistening like a postcard. He saw Kayla. He saw Max. And yet, he saw nothing. Since Lillian's death, Chase had buried himself in business. Meetings, numbers, acquisitions. He ran a luxury hotel empire, Whitman Resorts, with the ruthlessness of a man who couldn't afford to feel anything. His grief, like his emotions, was compartmentalized. And Kayla Brooks? She was temporary. A name on a file, a placeholder. He barely remembered hiring her. Premier Nannies had said she was exceptional, fluent in Spanish, CPR certified, quiet, composed. He'd skimmed the rest. "She's fine," he'd told his assistant. "Just make sure she doesn't get too comfortable." She hadn't, not with him anyway. But Max? Max was beginning to smile again, laugh sometimes even, usually when Kayla was around. Downstairs, Kayla rose from the poolside. "I'll be right back, Torpedo," she said, ruffling the boy's hair. "Just going to grab more sunscreen." Max nodded, then turned back to his toy shark. The moment she stepped inside the kitchen, the accident happened. It was quiet, just a soft splash, no scream, no cry, just the sudden, unmistakable plunk of a small body falling into water. Kayla dropped the bottle of sunscreen, sprinting back outside. Max was gone. For a split second, everything went still. Then she ran. The surface of the pool was rippling, but beneath it she saw the shape, small, sinking, flailing weakly before going still. Without hesitation, Kayla dove in. The water was warm but numbing. She kicked down, reaching for him, adrenaline roaring in her ears. Max's limbs were limp by the time she pulled him to the surface. "Max!" she gasped, dragging him to the edge, coughing, her own lungs screaming. Stay with me, baby. Come on. She laid him flat on the stone, water pouring from his nose and mouth. She began CPR, compressions, breaths, again, and again, and then a cough, then a sputter, then a wheezing gasp as Max came to. Kayla let out a sob she didn't know she'd been holding. Tears blurred her vision as she cradled his wet body, shaking. "You're okay," she whispered over and over. "You're okay." Footsteps. A door slammed upstairs. Chase. He reached the edge of the pool in seconds, his shadow long across the patio. He took in the scene. His son, coughing up pool water. Kayla, soaked, trembling, her arms still around the boy. And he said nothing. His expression was unreadable. Not anger, not relief, just something like confusion, like a glitch in his perfectly ordered world. Kayla looked up at him, expecting panic, a thank you, anything, but he just turned and walked inside. An hour later, the call came. A woman's voice, cool, precise. "Ms. Brooks, this is Natalie from Premier Nannies. I'm afraid your services are no longer required at the Whitman residence, effective immediately." Kayla stood in the laundry room, barefoot, her clothes still damp. "I don't understand. I saved Max's life." "The family has expressed concerns regarding negligence, leaving the child unattended." "That's not—" Kayla stopped herself. "Is Mr. Whitman available to speak?" "No," the voice said. "Please return your access badge and pack your belongings. Security will meet you by the gate." The line went dead. Kayla's breath caught in her throat. She packed in silence. Max wasn't allowed to see her go. The housekeeper, Maria, looked down as she walked past. But then, a voice, tiny, cracking. "Kayla!" She turned. Max was on the stairs barefoot, his wet hair sticking to his forehead, his eyes wide. "Don't go!" he cried. "Please!" Security moved to usher him back, but Kayla held up a hand. She knelt. "I have to, sweetheart," she said gently. "But you saved me," he whispered. "I know." "Then why?" She kissed his forehead, forcing herself not to break. "That's not a question for me, baby. You keep being brave, okay?" Max clutched her hand until the guard pulled him away. Kayla left through the back gate, alone. That night, she told no one, not even her best friend Jessica, who had begged her to quit months ago. It wasn't until Jessica saw the bruises on Kayla's knees and the silence in her eyes that she asked what happened. And when she heard, she was furious. "No, nope, you're not disappearing like that," Jessica snapped, pulling out her phone. "Jess, don't—" But it was too late. Jessica posted a photo. Kayla's soaked dress on a hanger next to a pool float. The caption read, "She pulled a child from the deep end, saved his life, and got fired for it." This is what grateful looks like in Palm Beach. The post went viral by morning. By noon, Rashka Justice for Kayla was trending, and by evening, a black Escalade pulled up in front of Kayla's small apartment. Max was in the back seat, and Chase Whitman was at the door. Kayla didn't move when she saw the Escalade, just stood in the doorway of her small stucco apartment, barefoot in an oversized T-shirt, arms crossed over her chest. The Florida heat clung to the air thick as molasses, but the moment was frozen. Chase Whitman stepped out of the SUV slowly. He wasn't wearing his usual armor, No tailored suit, no Rolex, no phone glued to his ear. Just a soft gray button-up and jeans, unbuttoned collar, sleeves rolled to the forearms. And next to him, Max. The boy clutched his father's hand like it was his only anchor in the world. Kayla's eyes flicked to Max first. His face lit up the second he saw her. "Kayla," he said, letting go and running straight into her arms. She dropped to her knees just in time to catch him. The force of him, small and solid, knocked the air from her chest. "You came," she whispered into his hair, blinking back tears. "Sweetheart, you came?" He nodded into her shoulder. "I told Daddy you were my family." She pulled back slowly, brushing the curls from his forehead. "You doing okay?" Max looked at his sneakers, then at his father. Chase was watching them, unreadable again, but there was something different now, something raw, stripped down, human. "I don't deserve to be here," he said quietly. Kayla stood, her arms still around Max. "Then why are you?" He hesitated, hands in his pockets. "Because I couldn't sleep. I kept seeing your face. The moment you pulled him from the water. You didn't hesitate. You didn't panic. You just acted. And I stood there like a damn statue." "You were in shock," she said flatly. "No," he admitted. "I was in denial." Kayla crossed her arms, defensive now. "So what? You showed up to apologize because the internet told you to?" "The internet reminded me I was a coward," he replied. That silenced her. "I gave the order," he added, "to have you let go. I told my staff to keep it quiet. I thought, if I just moved on, if I made it disappear, then it couldn't remind me how close I came to losing him." Again. Kayla shook her head in disbelief. "You fired me for saving your son." Chase's voice cracked. "I was terrified. And when Max started asking for you, calling you his best friend, his safe person, I felt like I was losing Lillian all over again." Kayla's jaw tightened at the mention of the boy's late mother. "I wasn't trying to replace her," she said sharply. "That's not what this was." "I know," he said, "but I didn't. Not then. I saw you with Max and—" "God," he smiled. He laughed. "Do you know how long it's been since he laughed?" A pause. "I didn't know how to let anyone matter again, especially not someone like you." That landed like a punch. Kayla raised an eyebrow. "Someone like me? I didn't mean—" He stopped, exhaled hard. "I mean someone I didn't control. Someone who didn't work for me. Someone I couldn't hide behind a contract." Kayla looked down at Max, who was now holding tightly to her pinky finger. "You broke his heart when you fired me," she said. "He doesn't care that I have CPR certification, or that I came from an agency with 5 stars. He just cares that someone saw him, that someone stayed." "I see that now," Chase said. "Too late, maybe, but I see it." The silence between them was thick again. "I came to ask you to come back," he finally said. Kayla blinked. "As Max's nanny?" she asked. Chase shook his head. "As someone he chooses, as someone I trust, as someone who saved both of us." "I don't need charity," she said, her voice tight. "This isn't charity," he said. "It's a chance to make things right." "I don't want your money, Chase. I'm not offering money." "Then what exactly are you offering?" Chase glanced down at Max. "A place, not as staff, as family. If you'll let us." Kayla stepped back, stunned. You barely know me. I know that my son hasn't laughed like this since his mother died, Chase said. I know that you threw yourself into a pool without thinking. I know you walked away with more grace than I deserved. That's enough for me. She didn't respond, but Max did. He reached into the little backpack slung over one shoulder and pulled out a folded piece of construction paper. I made you something, he said shyly, offering it. Kayla took the paper and unfolded it slowly. Inside was a drawing, messy, bright, and full of heart. A stick figure version of her, next to Max, both holding hands under a big yellow sun. A third figure stood beside them, Chase, with Dad scrawled underneath. At the top, written in red crayon, "My family." Kayla's throat closed. Her eyes brimmed. "I'm not trying to be his mom," she said, her voice trembling. "I just didn't want him to drown." "He was drowning long before he hit the water," Chase said softly. "And so was I." They stood in silence as the weight of that truth settled around them. Then Chase added, voice lower now, "You pulled us both out." Kayla looked from the drawing to the boy, then finally to the man standing in front of her, not as a billionaire, not as a boss, but as a father, stripped bare. She didn't say yes, not yet, but she didn't say no either. Instead, she reached for Max's hand and said, "You hungry?" He nodded enthusiastically. "Can we have pancakes for dinner?" She smiled. "Only if you help me make 'em." Chase stepped forward. "May I join?" Kayla looked at him for a long beat, then nodded. "Just don't burn the syrup," she said, holding the door open. As they stepped inside, the Escalade sat idle in the background, a monument to everything Chase Whitman thought he needed: control, power, status. But inside that humble apartment, something more valuable was forming. A choice, a chance, and maybe, just maybe, a new beginning. The morning light spilled into Kayla's kitchen like warm honey. She stood at the stove, flipping pancakes, while Max, perched on a step stool beside her, measured way too much syrup into a bowl. The boy giggled as the golden liquid overflowed, and Kayla couldn't help but laugh with him. In the background, Chase fumbled with the toaster, completely lost. "This thing has like 6 buttons," he muttered, staring at it like it was part of a spaceship. Kayla arched an eyebrow. "You've never made toast?" "I pay people to make my toast," he admitted, then paused. "Used to." Max grinned. "We're teaching Daddy how to cook." "Oh, we are," Kayla teased, sliding a pancake onto a plate. "Because Daddy looks like he's about to burn water." Chase looked mock-offended, then held up a perfectly toasted slice. Victory. Kayla set 3 plates on the table and looked around. This wasn't supposed to happen. Not here, not like this, not after everything. But somehow, here they were. Not quite a family, not yet. But not strangers either. After breakfast, they went for a walk on the beach. Max held both their hands, swinging between them, his sandals flopping, his voice full of wonder, as he pointed out shells and driftwood like they were ancient artifacts. Chase had never seen him so animated, so alive. Every so often he looked at Kayla like he still didn't believe she was real, and she looked out at the horizon like she didn't know how long she'd be allowed to stay. That night, Kayla lay awake on her sofa, staring at the ceiling fan spinning slowly above her. Her phone buzzed. It was Jessica, again. Kayla finally picked up. "Hey, you okay?" Jessica's voice was cautious. I think so. I saw the post hit 5 million views. Kayla winced. I didn't ask you to go viral. No, but the universe clearly did. Kayla laughed, tired but genuine. What are people saying? Jessica snorted. Half of America wants to hire you. The other half wants to sue the agency that fired you. Great. Also, did I see Chase Whitman in your doorway last night? Kayla hesitated. Yeah, he came by, with Max. Jessica fell silent for a long beat. Then, do I need to drive over there and remind him who you are? Kayla smiled. I think he's starting to remember on his own. In the following days, everything shifted. Whitman Resorts released a statement. Polished, legal, vague. But the internet wasn't having it. The agency, Premier Nanny's, issued a public apology. They offered Kayla a full reinstatement, a raise, and brand ambassador status. She declined. She wasn't going back to a system that discarded her the second she stopped being invisible. Instead, she focused on Max, on healing, on showing up. Chase started showing up too, not as a CEO but as a father. One evening, Kayla found him on the patio, sitting alone, nursing a glass of bourbon. I haven't touched this stuff in months, he said, swirling the glass. But tonight, I needed it. Kayla sat beside him, silent. She was the strong one, he said. Lillian, she kept everything together. After she died, He broke off. I didn't know how to be a father. I knew how to be a provider, a protector, but not a parent. You don't have to be perfect, Kayla said gently. You just have to be present. He looked at her. That's what you are, present, with him, with me, even when I didn't deserve it. Kayla swallowed. I never wanted to be a replacement. You aren't, he said. You're something we never knew we needed. That night, Kayla found the drawing Max had made, the one with the 3 of them and the sun. He'd added something new, a tiny heart, drawn in red, floating between the 3 figures. It stopped her breath. Days turned to weeks. Paparazzi caught wind of the story. A photo of Chase and Kayla at a beach cleanup event with Max ended up on the front page of a local magazine. Headlines screamed, "From Nanny to Hero," and something more. She hated it. Chase hated it more, but Max loved it. Look, he said, holding up the paper, we look like superheroes. Kayla ruffled his hair. You are a superhero, buddy. The biggest change came quietly. One morning, Chase handed Kayla a folder. Inside were legal documents. She frowned. What is this? A trust. For Max, with you listed as co-guardian. Kayla's eyes flew to his. What? If anything ever happens to me, he said, voice firm, I want him with someone who sees him, who knows him, someone who doesn't leave. Chase, she whispered, that's too much? No, it's everything. He paused. You don't have to say yes now. I just want you to know you're not temporary. That word, the one that used to follow her everywhere. Temporary, disposable, replaceable, not anymore. By the end of the month, Chase announced a new initiative, a $2 million donation to fund training, scholarships, and legal protections for Black women in domestic care roles. The Kayla Brooks Foundation launched with quiet strength and national coverage. Reporters asked her to speak. She did, once. Care work isn't just labor, she said at the podium. It's love, it's presence, it's protection. And it deserves to be seen. Thunderous applause followed. The following week, she opened her own institute, Brooks Care Institute, a training program for women like her, not just to get hired, but to be respected. She never intended to become a symbol, but life has a way of rewriting your role once the world finally listens. And through it all, Chase and Max never left. One morning, Chase walked out onto the back deck, coffee in hand, and found Kayla and Max sprawled on a blanket, watching the clouds. He smiled. "What you looking for?" he asked. Max pointed upward. "That one looks like a dolphin." Kayla turned, squinting at the sky. "That one looks like a second chance." Chase sat beside them. "That one looks like a woman who saved my life." Kayla rolled her eyes. "Don't be dramatic." "I'm not," he said softly. "You saved us." She leaned back, letting the sun warm her face. Max fell asleep curled between them, the sound of waves not far off. And for once there was no title, no tension, no fear. Just three people, just one quiet, perfect moment, just together.